Let's now move on to our guests who are joining us at this point on this panel. We have PK Jain, former additional DGP of Maharashtra, Parvez Menon, senior partner and lawyer as well of MZM Legal LLP, and also joining me Sandeep Chachra, ED Action at India at this point. Sandeep, I'll come to you first, sir. The last point which we heard Akhileshji mention, that the problem is not with the laws, the problem is with the people who are tasked with executing, with upholding and implementing the laws, meaning the police force and the legal setup. They are the ones they are the problem. Do you agree with that statement?
Thank you for having me here. And first of all, my deepest condolences for the boy and the girl and their family members who are bereaved. I was just listening into that interview, so I want to begin there. I want to say that, obviously the law stands and the law has been reformed. And the uncle was right, the boy's uncle was right, that the law needs to be strictly and transparently implemented, which in this case, there seems to be a lot of doubt to it of how the juvenile board has decided and what kind of punishment has been given out. Ritanshuji, there's a long history of such cases. So this is not a new case where prominent people, rich people. I mean, you see from 1999 what's been happening. Get away with this kind of sort of accidents and trampling people over. And there's quick bail, and the case is forgotten, and the world moves on, and the families of the bereaved keep crying for justice. And I think this must stop. This must be put a definite end to. But I also want to take, if there is time, I also want to take a moment to actually raise some fundamental issues with reference to road safety, urban mobility. And I think there are fundamental dimensions which this case again reaffirms, and there's a need for reform there in the trajectory of travel we have with reference to road safety, with reference to urban mobility. In India, Ritanshuji, the number of cases of road accidents are on the rise. Globally, they're coming down, but in our country, they're on the rise. And I think we must note it. And we must also be clear that the most vulnerable are the people who are either pedestrians or cyclists or two-wheelers. In the data that we have, 40% of road accidents from the data of NCRB, I'm speaking, 53 cities, 40% of those who are involved in road accidents and who suffer the road accidents are pedestrians. And this data is actually there, and we need to focus that. The point is, there's a recent WHO report I was looking in preparation for this show, which says that 80% of world's roads, that includes more in our country, are not suitable for pedestrians, are not pedestrian friendly, are not for pedestrian safety. And in that sense, we know who are the more vulnerable road users. We saw this macabre incident yesterday. There have been many before it. In this sense, the WHO report also tells us, I get to some factuals, is that the number of motor vehicles are only going to double by 2030. The kind of pictures you are showing here of the large motorized vehicles, private
Sandeep Chachra, I'm sorry to cut you
trend.
short at this point, but I get your point, Mr. Chachra, about the larger issues of road safety here, but I would like to focus specifically on this case because it's not just an issue of safer roads or safer vehicles or safety for pedestrians. It's about accountability for someone who decides and a system which decides to flout whatever safeguards and rules are in place. Let me quickly go across to PK Jain, former additional DGP of Maharashtra. Sir, the allegations that have been leveled, there are two kinds of allegations which have been leveled today against the local police. One is by politicians which say that they rolled out a red carpet, gave pizzas and burgers. That of course, is not very substantiated at this point. But you just heard one of the family members of one of the accused and said that there was initially an extreme reluctance and hesitation to try and book stringent charges, especially that of drunken driving against the accused. And we have already established why the charge of drunken driving is so important. It's almost to wait it out so that the alcohol content in his bloodstream comes down. There was also this sort of a red carpet treatment given to it. There was more harassment and pressure given on the victims of the case as to what was the relationship between the two victims. Does this not speak very ill of the local police? Today, the police commissioner may be coming out and giving press conferences saying that he's intent on pursuing this case to its logical end. But it remains from all accounts that the first responders of the local police, that action was very much left lacking.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. By the time the information reaches the senior officers, the damage has been done. In this case, the stringent section of at least 304, that is culpable homicide, should have been applied right in the beginning, because the person had come out of the bar. When an offense is registered, some basic inquiry is already done by the police. It is not that the concerned officer jumps into registering an offense without even making the basic inquiry. So some basic inquiry had been done, and it must have been found that this person had come out of the bar. He was driving at a very fast speed. He did not have a driving license. Some basic questions. So I think some of these sections, if at all 304 was not applied, it was a wrong action. They should have applied 304 instead of 304A. 304 makes automatically a bail to be a fait accompli and right of the accused. One. Secondly, as far as the Juvenile Justice Act, etc., are concerned, let's be very clear about one thing. There's a judgment of the Supreme Court of 2020 in which it says that an offense where the minimum punishment is not 7 years and above, it is not a heinous offense. Now, if you go by the Juvenile Justice Act provisions, it seems that since it was a serious case, the court was within its rights to grant bail and to put conditions that the judge has put. But looking at the gravity of the case where two persons have been killed, and by the time the person was produced in the court, the police already had some information, he should have been remanded to 15 days custody in a remand home, which was again within the law. I don't know why the members of the Juvenile Justice Board have not done that. So apparently
there are two issues
mistakes
at
both at the level
play,
of
Mr.
the
Jain.
police officer. Ji. So I'm saying that
yes, indeed,
there was a mistake both at the police station level where the stringent sections in application of laws,
go on,
and the sections of law, and the second was at the level of the Juvenile Justice Board.
Absolutely. So there is a lacuna in the police force in terms of not applying the serious charges to begin with.